Finally, we reach a visual novel series that I can say safely, without a doubt, is within my top 5 series of all time. Welcome to day 9 of Z Memories, with a series that I'll probably do individual videos of in the future. Majide watashi ni koi shinasai, or Majikoi for short. I've actually already done a visual novel primer, basically an introduction video on the first game of the series, which I'll link in the top right corner and at the end, so I'm not gonna go super into depth on it again. Instead, I'll just talk about why I like the series in general, and some favorite moments at the very end. On day 8, I said 2 things. 1, that Little Busters is the best high school drama I've played, and 2, I kinda don't like the high school setting. And even though I love Majikoi, I stand by both of those 2 statements. Reason that being, when it comes to drama, Majikoi has it, but it's not really the focus. Friendship and comedy is, and it is absolutely amazing. Straight up, one of the funniest stories I've ever had the pleasure of reading. There are actually quite a few similarities between Majikoi and Little Busters, oddly enough. Both of their strongest points is getting you to really feel like the main characters are the most amazing group of friends to hang out with, and making you feel really close to all of them. Although, I think Majikoi does it better. Even their backstory is incredibly similar. Both visual novels show the main character hang out with this group of friends since childhood, and how they change and grow once they reach high school, when a couple of new faces join this childhood friend group. Finally, both of them have the main character's last name as Naoe, oddly enough. Granted, it's a different kanji, but the same way of saying it. Honestly, I don't even know whether this is like a funny coincidence, or it's Majikoi doing a tiny parody of sorts on Little Busters. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the latter, is all I'm saying. Now, where they differ the most is the setting, and what they choose to do with it. Little Busters took place in pretty much a normal school setting, with a few supernatural elements snuck in later in the game. Majikoi, on the other hand, takes place in a complete wacko version of Japan. Yeah, it takes place in high school, but it's one where the majority of the cast is ridiculously good at fighting. As in, they might as well have superpowers, and in fact some of them basically do. One of the main characters can shoot laser beams, fly in the sky with her aura, and create black holes. There are sentient robots who have feelings and can make popcorn, maids who also train ninjas, ex-special forces from America, and assassins from China, among other things. The principal is an old man with a beard Gandalf will be jealous of, who's also the head of a world-famous martial arts clan, and even the Prime Minister of Japan fights with a sniper rifle against his political rival controlling evil robots. It's a kind of anything goes setting, which is probably why I really like it. It is a school setting, yeah, but certainly no boring-ass school setting that I know of. I mean, sure, maybe the appeal of a school setting is to be a ideal event-filled version of the high school experience we all wished we had, which is why realistic slice-of-life school stories are so popular. But in my humble opinion, if you're going to go down that route, have some fun with it. Make it some complete out there school with Gundams, ninjas, and superpowers, why not? Majikoi is a relatively long series that is actually completely finished as of 2 years ago. We have the original, which features the 5 main girls of the Kazuma family and 1 true ending. Majikoi S, which has after stories for each of the original heroines, along with 6 new routes for the game and a new true ending. After that, we have Majikoi A 1-5 and Plus, which are a bunch of fan discs, each featuring about 3 routes for one of the side characters. These routes are actually the same length as each heroine route in the main game, so it basically just feels like another Majikoi entry. I have actually not fully completed the entire series. I've played everything except for A5 and A+. No real reason I haven't played it yet. I bet they're great. I just never got the urge to finish these last 2 fan discs. So I said I wouldn't cover Majikoi in great detail, but I figured not everyone has already played it or checked out my primer on it, so here's a quick summary. Naoe and his friends have been hanging out since childhood as a rambunctious group, especially since Naoe's parents have mostly left him to his own devices as they've left the country. Fast forward to high school, where Naoe and his friends attend Kawakami Academy, a place which adheres to their old samurai heritage, which mostly means they take the Bushido code very seriously, and they fight a lot. As the second year hits, a new group of girls will join this close-knit group, and perhaps things will change from this point on. Now, does that not sound exceedingly similar to Little Busters? I thought it was kind of a funny coincidence. Of course, as I already mentioned, Majikoi differs greatly in that everyone has out there personalities. And the Kawakami city they live in is some alternate crazy version of Japan, turned up to 11 on a 10-point scale. There's some fairly normal school things that happen too, like all the degenerate guys gathering in the school auditorium to auction off sneak photos of the hottest girls, eating hot pot in the school backyard, or a competition against another school where one guy goes Super Saiyan and the third years stack on top of each other to turn into a giant kaiju monster. So yeah, fairly normal things. Majikoi's greatest strength, beyond a ludicrous setting though, is of course the characters. Majikoi's main cast is great. Love the Kazuma family a lot, as I'm sure anyone who's played the game does. What's more impressive than that though, is how Majikoi has a ridiculously huge cast, like over 40 characters, and yet somehow they manage to make you feel like you really get to know all of them, and how everyone is given their own shining moments. Even before Majikoi A1-5 came out, and all the side characters were given their own routes, throughout the main game, just with their interactions with Naoe Yamato and the rest of the Kazuma family, you get to learn about each and every one of them. Some side characters get even more screen time than the main cast in some of the routes. They're all fun to hang out with and really gives humanity to what is an absolutely ludicrous setting. Another surprising fact is that a good half of the cast is guys, and all are equally as colorful in personality as the main cast, which when it comes to visual novels is something that almost never happens. Most visual novels tend to have a pretty small cast, and even if there is someone with the same gender as the main character, it's usually like one best friend character at best. Not like the additional 20 or so they did in Majikoi. I'd go as far to say that in terms of a huge cast, Majikoi has one of my favorite ones, probably in the top 3. Since I've been talking about 18 plus scenes in visual novels for the past few, here's one where I think the 18 plus scenes are pretty solid, like they're actually fun to read. Not because it was incredibly sexy or anything, but rather the dialogue and script feel like effort has been put into it. Some of them might not make much sense in a much more normal game, but with how crazy Majikoi gets, it fits right in. And here's another thing I've said quite a few times in Z Memories. I like the main character Naoe Yamato a lot. In the midst of what can only be described as superhuman high schoolers, Naoe stands unique in that he actually isn't that strong. Rather, he relies on his superior intellect, wits, and connections in order to outsmart his opponents. He's a great main character, as while most people can't imagine themselves having insane martial art powers, maybe you can, I can't, imagining yourself to be the sort of relatively smart guy is a lot more approachable. Naoe makes friends with literally everyone, not because he's a super special snowflake that people are drawn to for no reason, but rather he works hard to maintain connections, which is something everyone strives to do, but is hard in practice. You see Naoe Yamato constantly practicing and training both his mind and his conversation abilities, talking with all the different people he's helped out in the past, and keeping tabs as favors in return for the future. Yet he doesn't end up just being a manipulative character, as you see him readily put himself before others and sparing no effort when it comes to protecting both his close friends and his loved ones. The one thing people might find a little off-putting is his domineering streak in bed, which Yamato inherits from his dad. In any other visual novel that would be a little weird, maybe even dark, but in this game it is played for laughs and works in that sense. As for all the heroines, in that area Majikoi balances it shockingly well. The biggest risk when it comes to visual novels with this many heroines is usually that everyone kind of barely gets any development or actual stories to themselves. I mean, you see this in the Koihime series, Eiyu Senki, and other such games, where there are a ton of characters, but each specific one gets one scene, and then the relevance to the main story is done. Since Majikoi does such a good job making every character feel like, well, their own character, I never really got that feeling. Every heroine who has their own routes, excluding the joke ones which last like an hour max, feels like a fully fleshed out experience, and regardless of whether you dislike one character or another, there's just so many that the chances are you'll find one you really like. Although if you somehow didn't like anyone, well dang, I did not think that was possible. Which finally brings me to my favorite part of the entire series, that thanks to the absurdity known as Kawakami City, every single route in Majikoi feels refreshingly unique, which is fairly impressive when you consider all told that there are over 30 routes in total across the entire series, not counting the short ones. One route, you might be intruding on Azumi's secret ninja household. One, you might join a battle royale involving giant robots. Another has you flying to Germany to fight the 7th Southern Stars, which I'm pretty sure is a Fist of the North Star parody. Literally, the sky's the limit. Except not even that, since one route involves Momoyo fighting in space. Anyhow, if you want further details, check my primer on the first game, which I'll link at the corner. At this point, today's Z memory can be considered over. As always though, I'm gonna put a tiny spoiler warning because I want to recount just a few standout favorite moments of mine from the entire series. None of these will spoil the game as a whole, but maybe just a tiny part of one or two routes. Since these aren't big ones, I won't use the big warning sign I usually use, but instead, beep, minor spoiler warning. So if we're talking about favorite moments, the first one that always comes to mind is one from the original. From what is definitely, from a story perspective, one of the worst routes I've ever played. I'm of course talking about Chris's route, where near the end of it, Chris and Yamato are living together after dropping out from school and hiding from her German military father. When he comes busting in through the window, chants Mephistopheles, which turns him young again and kidnaps Chris.
私も力を抑制しているんだよ、クリス。メフィストフェレス。
父様が若返った。
若返りの。
Yeah, that actually happened, is real, and is one of the most glorious moments I've ever witnessed. First of all, why Mephistopheles? What? Cause it sounds cool? Cause it's a German demon? How does that even work in turning him young again? What? The ensuing fight where Yamato and his friends go into tournament style against her father Frank Friedrich in Germany, where he gathers the Southern Stars or whatever the hell they're called, is equally as great, but not as funny as that one moment. That route was terrible, but that entire ending was goated. Of course, I can't forget about Majikoi S's finale, or Yuki's route, where just like in the first game, all of the Kazuma family team up to fight the big bad. Except this time around, we also include a good deal of the new cast as well, in an all-out battle where everyone faces off against their rival of sorts. This is also made better with animated movies of the climactic moments in each final battle. Quite cool, even if the animations themselves aren't that long. Gives a ton of characters their own chance to shine. Even all the side characters get their own little part to play, which is again, super nice. Next up is the end of Azumi's route and the latter end of Lin's route for the exact same reason. End of Azumi's route because even though the route itself was pretty whatever, in the very ending you get to see Naoya Yamato a decade later as one of the Kuki's numbered servant / bodyguards, where he becomes a master of the wires and is an actual combatant, which is an interesting contrast to how he normally operates in other routes. On the other hand, we have the end of Lin's route, where Yamato shacks up in a hut with Lin, where after weeks of boning and bodybuilding, Yamato becomes a sun-tanned macho, which although we never got a picture of, just the thought of it was the most hilarious thing to me. What's also funny was that this was Yamato's plan all along, where he was like, "Look, Kazuma family, I may be forcibly held captive, but I'll just bone her a lot and bodybuild until she thinks I'm the kind of man that can protect himself." Like, dang, wow, excellent plan from the tactician, 10 out of 10. The last thing I'll mention is my favorite heroines of the cast, and a little bit of why, I suppose. My favorite heroines out of the entire Majikoi cast are probably... It's a tough one to narrow down since there are easily over 25 heroines, but I suppose if I had to choose, I'd say Matsunaga Tsubame and Otomo Homura. Homura because, well, actually I guess I don't have the most concrete of reasons. I just like her energy and the way she speaks a lot. It isn't my favorite dialect, that dialect being Kyoto-ben. Kyoto-ben is basically a softer, more flowy kind of dialect that's closely associated with Gion's geishas, stuff like Bebetta or Ikezu. I forgot to mention this in the last Z memories on Utawarumono, but Atui actually has this accent, which might be another reason why I liked her so much. Anyways, back to Otomo Homura. Her route can be described in one sentence as Kazuma family take one semester abroad at their sister campus. Yet somehow I still had a great time looking at the Kazuma family becoming best friends with each of their counterparts, so to speak, at the sister school. And of course, I thought Homura and Yamato working on fireworks together was cute. As for Matsunaga Tsubame, well, that one I can much more clearly define why I like her. I really enjoy her bright, bubbly, cheerful personality, which hidden right underneath it is a super crafty, manipulative side, which I also like just as much. Mostly because it's fun to watch Yamato trying to one-up someone who is so similar to him. I'm a fan of how Tsubame always looks like she's up to something, and how she always pops out of nowhere trying to push her natto products to everyone. I even really enjoy her commercial song, which she sings constantly. I'm not even into idol songs, yet sometimes I still listen to this one from time to time. My exact favorite moment from her route was during the split where Yamato takes the lead, where at the very end, she calls him a bed yakuza.
ねえ、ベッドヤクザ。ヤマトくんだよ。開き直ってるし。
No idea why I like it so much, but I found it really cute. And with that, the day 9 of Z Memories comes to a close. We've got 3 more days left. If you want me to do anything more on Majikoi, well honestly I plan to do more videos on the series in the future, so you don't need to comment that. However, if you want to talk about anything Majikoi, feel free in the comments section. I'm always down. Like button is down below as always. Twitter handle will be in the center during the end screen if you want to see what I'm up to in between videos. Subscribe if you want to support me, and hit the notification and all button if you want to keep up to date when the next day of Z Memories will be coming out, as just subscribing doesn't actually notify you for whatever reason. We'll be covering a good visual novel that surprisingly got its Kickstarter release 15 years after it originally came out. As always, the previous Z Memory on Little Busters is right on top, and my original Majikoi primer that I did a while back is on the bottom, in case you want to hear more about it. And with that, I will see you next time.